Dalton picked, and if you want to pick lore, just make sure you're in the Discord below. I will ask a question once a week. First person to get the question right picks lore, and this week's lore is the Slags from Fallout 2. Now, Kyle, do you know anything about the Slags?
From Fallout 2?
Yes.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, me either. I was super happy that Dalton picked this because I knew nothing about them. Actually, Kyle, you'll appreciate this. When I was messaging Dalton back and forth, I hope this isn't wrong if I read this, right? It's just something quick. We were talking about the lore that they picked, and they go, Fallout lore and Christery are my expertise. And I said, ooh, the fine arts.
Fellow Christorian.
Can you believe what he did? Can you believe? I'm still thinking about it. I think it's still nuts. All right, so the Slags are led by Veger. I feel like I'm saying a slur, but it's Vegeir. How would you say that?
Say it again. Vegeir.
Vegeir.
Vigoro?
There's no O in there, Kyle. Where'd you get an O from?
I don't know. I thought you said O.
Vegeir. I only say his name once, but I just want to make sure it's...
E-I-R.
I'm going to say Veger.
It might be, it might be like second E silent.
Maybe. I don't know. In 2241, they are on the outskirts of MODOK, and they are the people that inhabit... They are the mutated people from the Ghost Farm. The Slags are the descendants of a secret pre-war militia that when the bombs fell, they bunkered themselves underground. This became known as the Ceiling, which I think is a great... Do you ever pickle? I know you grow vegetables. Do you ever pickle anything?
I have not, and also that went terribly wrong.
What?
My vegetable garden.
Oh no, what happened?
Well, tomatoes started to grow, but everything else died.
No.
So only the tomatoes survive. I did.
Hey, you can make some sauce.
And I saw something on it, and I was like, oh, is that a caterpillar cocooning?
No.
And I looked, and like, it looks like it's like covered in a leaf, and there's all these little white things hanging off of it. And we looked it up, and it was like, oh, it's a caterpillar, but there's wasp eggs eating it.
What?
The little white things hanging off it is like wasp eggs, and they eat the caterpillar.
Holy shit! Okay,
and we not touch it with our hands, but we hit it, and you can see the caterpillar moving. So we like sprayed it, and it was still alive. And I'm like, just pick all the tomatoes off, and we'll get rid of it. It's nothing else is growing, so
that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
So, I like the idea of the name being the Ceiling because I started pickling red onions or purple onions, whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm.
And to do it properly, you have to get a jar that seals. And after you've kind of done something to it, it then changes. So the Ceiling, because of the Ceiling, they mutated. Their skin turned pale and their pupils enlarged to accommodate underground life. They are absolutely terrified of the night sky and are very sensitive to the sun's natural light. There's a movie with Brendan Fraser. Tell me if you remember this movie, where they I feel like we've talked about this on the show before, where they thought the end of the world was happening and they go underground. You know what I'm talking about? Anyway.
It's vaguely familiar.
This is what this reminded me of. They're so terrified of like this in general. The Slags are so terrified of the night sky that they lie frozen in fear as to not fly into the endless sea of nothingness that is the night sky. They will lay on the ground and clutch it, like dig their fingers into the ground as to not fly, because their whole perception is underground. So when you go above ground, it's like flip to them. I think that's fascinating. Some point prior to 2241, they realized that they could no longer survive underground, and the seal was broken. They started a small farm. Being so close to MODOK, some of MODOK's citizens went hunting and saw what they thought was an abandoned farm that was left shortly after it was erected. After many months of trying to see if anyone was there, to no avail, Carl, who's an NPC who you can meet, there's probably a picture of Carl on screen somewhere, along with, what's this guy's name? Veger? on screen somewhere. Carl moves in so the crops wouldn't rot. The Slags didn't want to be violent, so to scare Carl off, they started smearing glowing fungus on them to scare him. Carl would tell stories of glowing figures tending crops and feeding animals. All of the people in Modoc would laugh and make fun of Carl, and then he eventually just stopped going to town. So imagine like you find a nice house and just a farm. There's animals, there's Brahmin, there's... I don't even know what animals would be around. There wouldn't be like chickens and shit, because I don't think chickens showed up until Fallout 4. Rad chickens. I mean, like, there's probably a dog running around, you know. Farm activity. And that'd be a great name for an album. Farm activity. So he stops going to town. The Modocans come looking for Carl. And what they find are bodies, guts, sinew, and crucifixions all left to rot in the sun. All of these are props left by the Slags to scare anyone who might try to steal. They assume that Carl was dead when in reality he just moved to the den. No one ever came back to the farm out of fear of the ghosts. Sometime around 2241, the Slags wanted to trade surplus food for medicines, and the Chosen One can choose to help them contact Modoc. So, like I said, I knew nothing about them. I think this is fascinating. I think the idea of going underground, and they were obviously trained if they were a militia. They obviously had some sort of gun knowledge, but the fact that they didn't choose violence, the guy could have showed up and they could have been like, bang, get out of here. You know what I mean? Like, They chose, let's try and be spooky. Like, let's try and do some dumb shit. So on the wiki, and I get all of my lore off of fallout.fandom.com. So if you talk to Viger, you can talk to Viger to get a little more insight on who they were, who the Slags are. And the Chosen One will say, tell me about your people. And Viger will say, once, long ago, we were once like the surface. We too dwelled above ground until the world above caught fire. Our ancestors, who were part of a secret militia, sealed themselves and their families down here for protection. For generations, down here we've remained, safely hidden, within the womb of Mother Earth. That's cool as shit. I really like that. You have anything you want to say on the Slags, Papa?
I'm very interested to know more lore.
Yeah, that's it.
They kind of remind me of like mole men almost.
The mole people of Quadrant 9. Yeah, well, there are those mole men people in 76, but we don't have to talk about
Oh yeah.
I like the idea of people going underground and mutating. I'm surprised. It's 100. I have it written down here. 2241 is 164 years after the bombs dropped. How many people were down there? How inbred is this community?
It's like Futurama.
Of old New York?
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's lore.